For where you are, I am, and where I am, you are. We abide then as the one mind, birthed from the very heart of Abba, or God. There is nothing outside of us, and from within there is nothing hidden. Though the dimensions of creation be infinite, they abide within the mind, or the field of consciousness, that we share as one. Hello friends, in this video we're going over lesson 9 in the Way of Knowing. This is the third book in the Christ Mind trilogy, or the Way of Mastery, by Jayem or John Mark Hamer, in which he channels Jeshua ben Joseph or Jesus. Lesson 9 is about unity, is about oneness, is about the ultimate truth that we are all one, that everything is one thing, that God is literally everything, and since God is love, love is literally everything. This can be said to be the ultimate truth in all spirituality, right? That the truth is unity, and that the illusion is separation, that we are all separate from each other, we're all individuals operating out of survival, out of fear, and that the truth is that we are all in fact one being, one self with a capital S. So he says the only truth that must be lived, that requires your commitment to choose, is the recognition that all is one. Your brothers and sisters are one with you. The trees are one with you. The rocks are one with you. Everything is one thing. Jeshua is one with you, as he says over and over again in this lesson. He reminds us that we are in fact one. You and I are one. And this foundation of unity is what matters. And that the world of perceptions that come, that rise and pass away, does not matter at all. And in Yeshua's words, the world means nothing. And the world, he means by that, the perceptions or misperceptions of egos. And he says the world has never existed. It is the illusion. So therefore you must surrender. You must surrender the world, the dream of separation. Because the only truth, the only reality is unity, is oneness. What must come to be released is the mistaken perception that there is, or has ever been, a separate I that is localized where the body-mind is. To release this illusion is to see that all things are simply one thing. Automobiles, plants, trees, clouds, thoughts arising and passing away. They appear in different forms, but they are but one thing. Looking through such an enlightened mind, because it no longer sees the veil of the false I standing between itself as a filter and its recognition of its unity with, its identity with, all things arising and passing away. Such a mind looks out upon a transfigured world, a world in which the veil has been lifted, and that mind sees only itself. A mind so awakened looks out and sees everything as perfect. Everything is perfect as it is. It allows all things, which thereby transcends all things. It sees all as already healed. And Yeshua says it was with this understanding, with this mind, with this perception, that he allowed his crucifixion to happen. An enlightened consciousness knows that loss is impossible. An enlightened consciousness knows that gain is also impossible. And yet, an enlightened consciousness, resting in the certainty of perfect knowing, merely abides in reality. That means there is no resistance to the coming and going of the body, no resistance to the grand display of energies that make up what you call your world. And then he says, as we approach the end of the Way of Knowing and the Way of Mastery, the truth is getting simpler and simpler. He says, I am one with Abba, or God, or the Father, and you are one with Abba, God, the Father. We are one. There is only one thing. It is that simple. There can only be God. There can only be love. And you are that. And you realize all is okay. All is acceptable. So you see, in the end, it is not so much about cutting out certain experiences and having only certain ones that you've decided hold value. It is rather to see that all such experiences are transitory. A moment of ecstasy or a moment of sadness are one and the same for the enlightened mind. There is only that vast expanse that allows all things. And when nothing is any longer unacceptable to you, in the field of what seems to be your own unique, particular experience, you will know that you are home. Things arise and pass away, and you remain. The vast expanse that allows all things. I really like that. He reminds us that all teaching and communication devices have but one purpose, And that's to nudge the individual to surrender the idea of separation, the idea of their separate self, so that they may be bathed in the truth of unity. To reduce fear so that the ego or individual self may release its tight grip around its idea of I and me. Only the I that we share as one exists. Not the you over there and the me over here, but the I that we share, the one true self. And I really love how he constantly reminds us that we can be perfectly enlightened and awakened right now. Any circumstances around you, it doesn't matter. There's no conditions that you need. You can be awakened right now, because really it has only been kind of a spell you've been on. And that spell can be lifted at any moment when you realize that you are one. And that really it has all been kind of a game. And by realizing that the thought you've had of yourself isn't true, it's just been a dream, an illusion, a temporary spell, God pretending that it is not God, kind of a game of hide and seek, or a game of playing characters in a play, a theatrical performance. And throughout the eons, he says, you've put on all the different costumes, you've played all the different characters, but really it's all been God, God playing with God. There can only be God. You are God's dream. You are God's creation. You are God's child in the sense that you are God shaping itself into a temporary expression of itself. And for what purpose? To simply extend creation. You are that one. All power under heaven and earth resides within you. When you bend to pick up a glass, God is embracing God. And if God were not choosing that, in that moment, you would cease to be. Even the body would vanish from view. And reminds us, as he has in a previous lesson, that it takes one to know one. And that means only Christ will recognize and hear and absorb any of the truth being shared by Christ. So he says, the things that I'm sharing, this is just you talking to yourself. And that's just him talking to himself, because there's only one thing. He says this character, Jeshua, Jesus, he uses that because it stands as a figure of authority in our dimension, in our reality. So he uses that agreement to get the message through, but really it is all one thing. So it's really ourselves talking to ourselves. And then he says, essentially, the one thing is love. So when you look at love upon another, you are recognizing the one true self. And when you look with the eyes of love, you are God. When you look lovingly upon anyone, you are God. For God is but love. You have heard me say many times, love is the essence of what you are. If God is love and love is the essence of what you are, this can only mean that the essence of you is God, right here, right now, with not one thing that must be done to earn it, to shape it, to get it. This is why no form of technique brings the Son to the Father. This is so good. No form or technique, which the ego kind of gets obsessed over, right? Oh, I need to figure out this secret formula, this secret meditation, this certain technique or sequence of postures I needed to reach enlightenment. It says, no, that is nonsense. You are this love already that is within all things. You don't need to do everything. Just choose to see with the eyes of your true self, of God, with love, and you remember what you are. Because you are never not that thing, that one. And he is inviting us and imploring us in this lesson, in any context, to know only God, to see only God, to recognize it as all things, because that is the truth. To see it as your hand reaching out, picking up the glass, to see it as the glass, to see it as the aging in the hand, to see it as the awareness of that whole action taking place, to see it as everything. I am one, and singular, and whole, and you should have no other gods before me. No other thoughts or illusions before me, not even a sense of an I going to God. Then there is only God. And reality has descended to make its home in the field of awareness, where once you thought there was something else. I remember reading in Gary Renard's book, one of his books, probably The Disappearance of the Universe, how Jeshua, before he left a room or when he entered a room, he would just say, God is. God is. And this is that consciousness of recognizing that it is all things. It is all one thing, everything. And the truth sets all things free because all things are the truth. For there is only God. Only the truth can be true. And the truth sets all things free. The truth that sets all things free does so because all things are the truth. This is why when you encounter anyone, It is indeed a holy encounter. Holy means wholeness. In wholeness, there is only one. So really we're God waking up and remembering ourselves. The world is not outside of you at all. It is you. You are playing a game. That game is going to take this very planet into a transfiguration in light. And you will all be transformed in the twinkling of an eye. Well, of course you will be. You are God making up the game. That's all that's going on. That's all that's ever been going on. There's only that which I am. There's only that which I am. I am indeed that perfect impersonal I. I am the creator of all things, the sustainer of all things, the destroyer of all things. There has never been a separate I where you are. There has only been me, showing up as you. You are perfect and whole, and you are innocent. You have never failed, and you have never sinned. A lot of these verses in this lesson remind me of certain verses out of the Upanishads, of those long rants of saying, I am this, I am this, I am this. I am here, I am there, I am everywhere. What is not here is not over there. What is here is everywhere. I am you and you are me, and where you are, there I am. I am in the hearts of all beings. I am the light within everything. And the realization comes when the awakening happens that you have already known God perfectly, forever, always. So that this seeking is really just a game, like mentioned before. It's just a game of hide and seek. And just to do it, just to experience it, just for fun. But you have never not been God. And the separate seeker, the one who would know God, realizes that they already know God perfectly, and that they have indeed been God, seeking God for the enjoyment of finding and knowing God again. Yes, that is your challenge now. Would you be willing to simply be God? Do you know what that requires? Absolutely nothing. How then do you show up as God? If you are thirsty, drink your water. If it is cold, put a sweater on. If you want to make love, make love. If you want to sleep, sleep. There is no difficulty in this. The only practice is to be that which you are, and you are the light of the world. And this is where we kind of get tripped up right with the ego. It's like, what? It's that simple? Because it's almost like we want to have some certain treasure, secret treasure, or key that we need to seek for and find. But really, you already are that thing. You are the destination you have been seeking for. And the seeking for it has been the greatest obstacle, because we misplace it and put it outside of ourselves. And as he says, there is no difficulty in this. And this reminds me of that saying he has said before, is, I need do nothing, because God is. And if God is everything, then everything is already perfect. It is simply our projections, our misperceptions, that have made it seem otherwise. For the mind that is awakened to the reality of God allows all things, trusts all things, embraces all things, transcends all things, and sees the shimmering perfection literally showing up as all things. You are perfectly free in every moment. Nothing can imprison God. If you choose to leave a relationship, you are merely using the complete freedom of God to generate experience. If you choose to stay in a relationship, you are merely using the freedom of God to generate experience. Neither is right, neither is wrong. Both options are totally free and uncaused, and each expresses God. It is indeed time to give up perceiving some things as being more perfect than others. There is only God. There has only been God. There will always be only God. I like that simple example he gave, and how we are quick to think that some things are better than others, or that some things are wrong. He says, really? No. All is God. All is perfect. All is perfect. And this is seen through the eyes of Christ, or with the eyes of love. And at the very end of this lesson, he says, the cat is out of the bag. And that is that he is not Yeshua ben Joseph, or Jesus. And that you, whoever's reading this, whoever's listening to this, is not this individual body self that you think you are. We are one. He just used that as an authority figure, because that bypasses certain fears in people, and it makes it easier for people to receive this message, because they see Jesus or Yeshua as an authority figure. But he says, really, that is not who he is. He is the truth that is within you right now. He is the truth that is within me right now, because we are all one. Yeshua ben Joseph is just a disguise. so that the self can present itself to itself, because some have required it. Whoo, another really great lesson. Remember, these are all available free online at womlibrary.com or on Jayem's YouTube channel, Way of Mastery Official, where all the original audios of the channelings are available. Thank you.